Shit, static. Shit, make it rain on the six. Yeah, I'm in the thick of terror. Got a head full of stacks. Better grab an umbrella. I make it rain. I make it rain. I'm in the thick of terror. Got a head full of stacks. Better grab an umbrella. I make it rain. I make it rain. Make it rain on the road. I make it rain. I make it rain. I make it rain. Welcome to the Ask Us Sports Podcast, where we don't only make it rain, but my man Viggy Betts is making it rain tonight. We're having a great night here tonight. Viggy, let us know what's going on, brother.
Man, we are straight cashing tonight. Appreciate you. Of course, Shane. One NRFI, which was the big one. Three YRFIs. We swept the board tonight. So anybody out there joining the show, I'm going to tweet out the link again to join us live. But it's going to be a celebration tonight. We're going to be talking a lot of fantasy football, a lot of week one action. So I'm ready to just party it up tonight with y'all.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Ken, how was your weekend? I did see you stopped at a brewery this weekend.
That's,
yeah. We went. But
yeah, the missus and I went up north for the salute to summer, so to speak, the Labor Day weekend festivities up in Sebago, Maine, and always had to stop at a brewery. We actually stopped at more than one, so that'll show you my level of drunkenness. So from the weekend, but. Other than that, yeah, just getting ready for the football season, last-minute drafts, last-minute fantasy, and last-minute preview specials, getting ready to go.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like Andy alluded to, we will be talking NFL. We're going to be going over every game, breaking down every game, and making our picks. We're actually going to do a fun little thing this year where we kind of like a pick 'em between the three of us, and the winner will get some kind of reward. The two losers will come together and buy a present for the winner. What the present will be, who knows? But it could be good. Ken might buy me a bottle of ketchup if I win. Who knows?
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, let's jump right into it. Ken and I's college football team faced off this weekend on Sunday. Notre Dame got the best of FSU towards the end. FSU did make a valiant comeback behind a very great story in Mackenzie Milton. I thought Milton played amazing, considering a lot of doctors didn't think he'd ever walk again, let alone keep his leg. It was a miracle that they were able to save his leg after his tragic leg injury at UCF. So I was pleased with how hard FSU fought. We actually looked like a team. Mike Norvell's got them going in the right direction. I was super pleased. The defense looked strong. The secondary definitely needs work, but the linebackers and D-line played fantastic, in my opinion. Mackenzie Milton looked strong. I'm excited to see if he starts and plays a whole game. And the running game looked great. We had two running backs with over 100 yards rushing, so can't ask for much more than that, especially from a team that was in the dumps for a very long time. So I was extremely pleased with how FSU played. Ken, on the counter end, how did you feel about Notre Dame?
Pretty encouraged overall, actually, because what I expected from my very limited knowledge and my extensive research was that they were going to struggle with their passing attack, which didn't really seem to be the case. Now, Jack Cohn, obviously being a senior first-year starter transferring from Wisconsin, nobody really expected much. People really kind of expected to rely on the run game, but the fact that he was able to throw for 4 touchdowns and I think close to 400 yards, I think was pretty much the reason why Notre Dame won the game. FSU doesn't really have anything to come back from, if not for the hot start from Cohn. So that's really what I think made the difference and what allowed them to win, which is not something that I think a lot of people expected in terms of it being a passing attack win for the Irish. But the concern is that, he didn't really inspire much confidence with those stats, considering he only completed passes to 3 different receivers, and he really wasn't very efficient on third downs, missing quite a few targets there on third downs. So there was definitely work to be done, but they were able to edge out the win. So you'll take the win where you can get it, especially on the road. That was not an easy place to play, not an easy place to win. So I think it was an encouraging day for the Fighting Irish.
you guys also have that tight end. Is his last name Meyer? That they were calling him Baby Gronk on the
Gronk,
telecast.
Yeah.
I thought he was good. He looked great. I'm excited to see what he could do at the next level. He had good hands, looked fast, looked strong, looked like he was okay in the blocking game as well. So could be a good prospect moving forward. Definitely a key to that Notre Dame offense. But like you said, Doak was rocking, and I haven't seen Doak that loud, in years. So
Yeah.
that's super encouraging. Vig, do you have any last second words on the FSU Notre Dame game? Oh, looks like we might have lost Vig.
He has nothing to add.
No, no, I'm good. I'm just thankful. 2 out of my 3 bets cashed in that game. I was wrong about the under, and that was a teased under too. So I got actually 6 additional points to that under, and it still lost by 18. So that's more so a credit to Florida State because they came out and they played very well. And Mackenzie Milton, it's a medical miracle, like they said on the broadcast, that he's able to walk, let alone play as well as he did. And
it's a miracle he got in the game.
I can't even give you crap like I wanted to because they played really well and they were down by 18, but they came back to tie it and forced overtime. I'm sure for all Notre Dame fans and bettors, betting, for me, it was a huge sweat, no doubt about it. So credit to y'all. I think this could be the start of something. Not saying you guys are going to, compete for a playoff spot this year, but if you're a Florida State fan, this is obviously you wanted to win, but you see a lot of.
If we play like the way we played against Notre Dame, I don't think we have a sweat game until we face North Carolina in 6 weeks.
And North Carolina lost at Virginia Tech. So, Clemson, talking about the ACC real quick, Clemson looked just horrific against, a Georgia defense, obviously, that's very stout, and then the SEC. But, and I expect Clemson to bounce back. But, you have teams like Florida State who, seem to be on the up and up, and Virginia Tech. This ACC could be wide open this year, and that could make things very interesting as we get into the months here.
Yeah, absolutely. And my last closing words on this is, like Andy said, it was a miracle that Milton even got to play that game. Jordan Travis, the only reason he got in was because Travis had his helmet knocked off, and then Norville decided to ride the hot hand. If Travis's helmet didn't come off, we'd probably lose by 18. Possibly more, because it looked like the offense was starting to go downhill with Travis.
And it was Milton that sparked that comeback.
Absolutely. But I'm excited to see what FSU and Notre Dame can do the rest of the season.
Who's starting now at quarterback?
He hasn't named a starter yet. I've heard different reports. I've heard Travis might start. I've heard Milton might start. I've heard Travis may get the first half, Milton get the second half, or it could just be a 2-quarterback system. So I don't know. I don't know which way Norville's gonna lean. I do expect Milton to eventually be the starter, though. I just think Travis lacks composure. So it is what it is, right? But I'm excited to see what they can do. Notre Dame played a tough game. I love Chip Kelly at the end, saying that his players didn't execute, so maybe his players should be executed. That was a funny line at the end of the game. So I'm sure in the Notre Dame student newspaper, he probably got some flack for that. But otherwise, let's quickly touch on Viggy Betts and then
appreciate you, man.
And then get to our NFL stuff.
All of them. Yeah, no, it's been fun tonight. Like I said, it's a celebration tonight. Cash in the NRFI, which, by the way, my NRFI bets are 10 times more than any other bet I do because I'm that confident in my NRFI bets. So they go from 10 to $100. So I'm very happy. I hope everybody else is happy who tailed tonight. Although I will say that NRFI in New York for the Yankees game was nearly not a NRFI. It was nearly a YRFI. Aaron Judge nearly homered. It was like this close. So, We appreciate the Blue Jays outfielder who caught that ball. I do want to talk about not just NRFI Wire5, but Penn State, Wisconsin, Shane. We touched on your two teams, Florida State and Notre Dame, but Penn State, let's give some credit to my boys for beating Wisconsin. What do you guys think? I mean, does this show that Penn State has a legitimate chance to play in the Big Ten this year against some tough competition and teams like Ohio State and Michigan, Michigan State?
Their defense is good. Their quarterback sucks.
That is true. Yeah, yeah. I've always said that. I've always said
quarterback
that.
Play ends up killing a team. So unfortunately, I don't think Penn State will be able to
Penn
hang
State
with.
and Clemson. Penn State and Clemson kind of similar, at this point. Strong defense, shitty offense.
Yeah.
So I think if Penn State utilizes the run game a bit more, but also utilizes Dotson down the field, I think that's where Penn State can really strike, especially with the new offensive coordinator. So I'm excited to see them do that a bit more. I think they were pretty conservative initially, but when they got those downfield opportunities, that's when Penn State really shined offensively. So I am excited to see more of that. We have Ball State coming up, and then Auburn the following week. So all those games at home. We have 4 straight at home before we go on the road to face Ohio State. So it'll be an interesting few weeks indeed.
Yeah, I mean, as far as college football goes, I'm pretty confident that Bama's going to win it all. I think they've got the right amount of offense and a beautiful defense like normal.
Agreed.
I think Bama's going to be the toughest team to beat in college football.
I agree, Shane, and it's because when you look at some of these top tier teams, you looked at when we look at Clemson, we say, well, their defense is great, but man, that offense was brutally bad. And you could say, well, they did face a top tier defense in Georgia, maybe, and I expect that, like I said, Clemson to bounce back. But man, that was rough. And you're facing top tier competition, you have to be better than that. And the only team, like I say, who doesn't have really any question marks is Bama. They'll just, they have a great defense, and they'll go right down the field methodically, and
there's not another team in the nation that can keep up with Bama's offense and defense.
No.
There just isn't. It's facts. Georgia couldn't score against Clemson, and Georgia's quarterback play is awful.
I will say this. Ole Miss, if they do have some
Pac-12 isn't doing anything. Come on.
I'm not saying if Ole Miss has some sort of defense, they'll be fun to watch this year. Because I'm not saying they're going to be Bama, but if they have some sort of defense this year, that offense is.
Yeah, I'm just commenting on Joseph Haas saying Pac-12 this year. That's a bad call. There's no way Oregon or anyone.
They did beat UCLA. Did beat LSU, but LSU is on the downside.
But anyways, let's move into our NFL stuff because we got a pretty full slate there. First game, boys. Ken, Cowboys versus Bucks. Where are you leaning on this? What are your takeaways from this game?
All right, so we got Cowboys and Bucks. That's obviously the opener. Typically, the home teams get that extra pizzazz with the opener. They're hanging the banner. They're fired up. They're ready to go. I believe, I'm trying to pull it up here to check, but I believe this is actually one of the higher spreads of the opening slate. If anybody knows off the top of their heads, but I believe it was.
It was like 6.5, 7.
Yeah, I was going to say it was about a touchdown. So
yeah,
they're leaning Tampa Bay. I think you have to lean Tampa Bay in terms of a straight up pick 'em, but there's a lot of stuff to watch here. One is Dak Prescott first and foremost, the shoulder and the obviously the multiple injuries that he sustained last year to his leg. So people forget though he was on pace for over 6,000 passing yards to start the season last year, and even at like a 20% reduction in performance throughout the rest of the year, he's still well over 5,000 yards. They're still an elite offense. They still have probably the best, if not one of the best receiving corps in the league. CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup. But this is kind of like a good team going against, frankly, probably the best team in football. At least that's the way I see it. They brought back everybody. I saw a stat that said their personnel is at 100% vaccinated. I mean, Tampa Bay is not screwing around this year. And I don't know if I'm going to bet against them at all during this little thing we do where we pick against each other and whoever wins. I'm probably going to pick Tampa Bay most weeks. So I'll probably pick them here, but I don't know. I think some of the things to look out for is how does Dak look? Is he back to himself? Because if he's back to himself, this is probably a team that can contend in the NFC East. So I think that's the biggest question going into the game. But we'll see. I don't know. What do you think, Shane? You think Dak is back? Back enough to take
I want to say he's back. He looked. I don't know if you've been keeping up with Hard Knocks, but he's looked good in practice. From what I've seen when he's gotten in, I know he didn't play any preseason stuff, but if he is back, that's a formidable offense, right? I mean, like you said, they got CD, they got Amari, they got Michael Gallup, they got Zeke, they got Tony Pollard. It's really a deep team offensively, and the Bucs do have a great defense, but that's just a lot of weapons to cover, right? And then you got to think: are the Bucs having a Super Bowl hangover? I don't want to bet against Brady. That's our guy. I want to think he's going to win everything, right? But Brady has been susceptible to slow starts sometimes. And
they started slow last year.
Yeah, maybe he has a slow start to the game, and if Dak's able to bring him downfield a couple times and they get up 14, 17 points, it makes it really tough on Brady to be able to. He's older. Is he going to be able to throw him back into the game? Obviously, we've seen him do it in the past, and he's got weapons. He's got weapons too. He's got Evans. He's got Godwin. He's got Gronk. He's got Fournette. He's got Jones. I mean, they've got weapons too. Scotty Miller, but this game is tough for me. I think the spread is Tampa minus 7.5. If I were, since we're not picking by the spread, I'd almost want to go Cowboys plus 7.5 because that seems like a smart bet. It seems like it's going to be one of those games because the Cowboys defense isn't bad either.
6 more weeks, Shane, for you, man. 6 more weeks, you'll be able to put it in.
Yeah, right. But man, this is tough. I think Dak is back though. I think Dak is going to be great. He was great before he went down last year. As long as he can keep focused and keep control of the offense, that's a scary team, man.
I agree with you. I agree with you, Shane. I mean, I look at Dak, and he's certainly back. I love Dak this year. Again, my only concern is the offensive line battling some injuries right now coming in, or some flu going on. I've heard in the locker room, Tyron Smith is battling the flu. I don't believe it's COVID related, but then there's Lyle Collins on the offensive line that's dealing with some things. So that's my biggest concern for the Cowboys coming into this game. That the Bucs are going to be motivated. I don't think there's going to ever be a hangover for an organization that has Tom Brady on it. I just don't think he lets that happen. So he understands the nature of COVID. He believes it's going to be more difficult this year. So, Ken alluded to the team being 100% vaccinated per report. I think that's a positive that they could potentially take advantage of and have an edge on teams against this year. And also, again, just a home opener, Super Bowl, the feel of it, the crowd's going to go wild. I just don't see how Dallas really stays in this game if they don't have a running game and B, their offensive line potentially banged up. I just see Tampa winning by double digits in this game. And I don't have to bet it because I took the plus 73 promo on DraftKings. So I'm getting money no matter what. But if I were to bet this game, I would seriously look at Tampa Bay covering the spread.
Ken, do you have before we make our official picks, do you have let me delete that comment. But anyways.
Wow.
That's
Anyways,
that's definitely from Shane.
Do you have a sneaky fantasy play for this week from either team before we make our official pick?
From either one of these games?
Either one of these teams.
Oh, either one of these teams. Yeah, obviously, either one of these games. We talked about one game. No, from these teams, yes. My sneaky week 1 play is Gio Bernard. He's going to be, well, I guess technically if you go by the depth chart, he's the 3rd string running back for Tampa Bay. However, their first 2 running backs are pretty much carbon cutouts of one another, Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones. Gio Bernard is going to fit into that James White role that Tom Brady really loved back in New England. So I like Gio Bernard. Moving forward, long term, I really like Tyler Johnson, wide receiver. He's making a lot of big strides. He's not going to be relevant now, but it's going to take – for this year, it's probably going to take an injury to one of the 3 guys. Shane's probably hoping that injury is to Mike Evans.
That'd be great.
That injury is to Antonio Brown or something.
Well, and Ken, to kind of piggyback off you real quick, I heard a report from Bruce Arians saying that Antonio Brown is playing like he did 5 years ago, pre-drama with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So if that is the case and he's back to his old self, that's just another weapon for Tom Brady.
Joseph Haas alluding to our great comment prior.
Yes, that's
And then I guess before we make our official pick, my sneaky fantasy play this week is sticking with the running back theme is Tony Pollard on Dallas. I think we're going to see Pollard make some impact here. I know they want to use a 2 running back system to keep Zeke fresh. I think we could see Pollard have anywhere from 50 to 70 yards rushing and add in 3 to 4 receptions and maybe get a touchdown. I think he wouldn't be a bad flex play in a deeper league, maybe a 12, 14 team league. I think he could be a good play. I do like him a lot this year. But Vig, give us your official pick and I'll write it down.
I'm going with the Bucs in this game. I just think there's too much offense, too much momentum from the fans, and too many injury concerns on the offensive line for the Cowboys. I just think Tampa wins this game by double digits. If you're asking me about the spread, I'm saying Tampa Bay covers the spread.
Ken, what's your pick, brother?
We're going straight up. Tampa Bay it is.
All right. And then my official pick for the show, hopefully is going to be what wins me the week. I'm going to go with the Cowboys here.
Always contrarian, Shane. That's why he'll lose this bet, this whole thing.
That's why you're going to have some condiments live on the show in a few weeks. So.
Oh my God! I just think I like the Cowboys. I think they've got a lot to prove. It's on. They want to spoil Tampa's little Super Bowl celebration. I think they're going to show.
Have no idea what Super Bowl is for the past 30
their
years.
coach is a moron.
You're gonna see it this year. I think this Cowboys team is different.
I like this Cowboys team, but what I would really like more is if they would just fire this bonehead McCarthy and let Kellen Moore or whoever.
I think that's a thing that could happen. I think we could see.
I like them a lot more if they let their coordinator run the whole team.
You're going to see Kellen Moore get a head coaching job eventually.
Yeah, he's good.
Whether it's with the Cowboys or somewhere else.
Yep.
The kid's good. But moving on. We'll start with Andy on this one. Eagles Falcons. I already know where you're leaning. This is going to annoy me. But let's go ahead and hear it, Mr. I don't have a Hawaiian shirt on tonight.
Oh, what the hell?
Man, it's beach season's over with, man. You don't
didn't even
wear Hawaiian shirts after Labor Day. I thought that was the cue, but no, this one pains me because I love me some Jalen Hurts. Everybody's doubting him this year, and I just can't wait for him to show what he can do this year, especially with the boosted wide receiver core. Devontae Smith coming in as a rookie. I think he'll step up big. I'm also, a huge fan of the running game. I really like Miles Sanders. I really like what they can do offensively. I think they're very much overlooked. But I just don't know if it's going to be this week. I think this week we're going to see a shootout. I watched the betting show. I watched Fox Bet Live today, and Cousin Sal and all them. They're like, I'm on the under in this game. I just don't see Jalen Hurts I think the Eagles are in the quarterback market after this season. I'm like, man, give me a break. This is going to be a track meet. This will be in Atlanta. This is going to be in the Dome. This is going to be a wild third, fourth quarter kind of game. I think the Atlanta Falcons are going to pull through, but I think Jalen Hurts is going to have a hell of a game, over 300 yards passing, maybe close to 400 yards passing, 450 to 500 total yards because he'll have some rushing yards sprinkled in there as well. I think it's just going to be a wild game. We could see a total up into the 60s here, but I think Atlanta has a little bit more, and I think they're going to come out with the victory.
Fair. Ken, I feel like I have an idea of which way you're leaning here. But how are you feeling about this game? Do you think it's all Philly, like Viggy's saying, or do you think Atlanta might have a shot?
So I'm kind of surprised by the spread because I don't think I'm really all that impressed with Atlanta much at all. And let's look at the Atlanta Falcons offense really for a moment there. They have major issues on an offensive line that's going to be supporting a running game that's basically Mike Davis, who we saw glimpses of last year when Christian McCaffrey got hurt, but then as Christian McCaffrey stayed hurt, Mike Davis progressively began to wear down. That's not going to last the whole year. He's not going to last 16 games as a running back one. They have serious holes, I think, in the offense. I'm not buying this little mini Atlanta resurgence. They traded the cornerstone of their franchise. And Calvin Ridley, while he's great, and Kyle Pitts, while he's eventually going to be great, these are not guys that are going to lead a team on a deep playoff run or anything quite like that. Not certainly at this point. And while Jalen Hurts is still a bit of an anomaly or a bit of an unknown, we don't really know what Jalen Hurts can be. I still think that the Eagles are not going to be as much of a dumpster fire as people want them to be or predict them to be. I think that Devontae Smith is going to be better than I think he's going to be the best receiver out of the rookie class, personally, just based off of the fact that I don't think Chase and Waddle are progressing as much as we would have hoped to, at least not through the preseason. And I think Devontae Smith certainly has a target share that's not going to be in jeopardy. And plus they have the two tight ends that probably match up fairly well with Kyle Pitts as a counterpart. So I kind of like the Eagles in this game. So you can put me down for the Eagles.
Put you down for the Eagles? Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty much leaning that way too. I really think that Philadelphia is probably going to go into Atlanta and really run up the score. As much as I don't want to boost Andy's likability for Hurts, I think Hurts actually does have a decent game here. And if I were to pick a deeper, sneakier play this week, I really like Quez Watkins in this game. He did finally get announced as the slot receiver for the Eagles. He had a few really good plays in the preseason. He looks fast, track meet fast. He catches the ball well. So if you're in a deeper league and you've got a chance to get Quez, I think that's a good call. I think him and Devontae Smith are going to have big years. I think Zach Ertz could have a good game. Goddard will probably have a good game. Overall, I just think the Eagles are the better team here, so I'm going to go Eagles as well.
Wow, I'm surprised I'm the only one going the Falcons here. The only reason I'm going with the Falcons, I think they make a couple plays late in the game. They might be.
Hold on, are you serious?
I am going. Didn't you not hear me? I said I think Jalen Hurts will have close to 500 total yards potentially. But I think that the Falcons sneak out with the victory. And like I said, the reason I am concerned about the Eagles, the only reason I'm concerned about the Eagles is because of their defense. I just don't know if they can keep up, or I just don't know if they can stop Atlanta in crunch time.
That just threw me for a loop. I really thought Andy was going to go the Eagles.
No, I said Jalen Hurts is going to have a magnificent game.
I was going to say
the haters.
I was just about to say, Vig. I thought Vig was pretty clear that he said Falcons. So this was a case of,
thank you.
This was a case of one the host isn't listening.
No.
Yeah, sorry, my bad.
There you go. Yeah, and he does that a lot to me, so that's okay. So, like I said, I think Jalen Hurts has an amazing game to shut up the doubters for him, at least for 1 week, and make me look good. But I think Atlanta as a team just sneaks out with a victory. I'm going 38-35.
I do like Atlanta's offensive coordinator. I just don't think I don't know. I just don't think Atlanta has enough to be able to beat the Eagles. I think the Eagles are pretty well endowed. But moving on, we're getting to Andy's
So you
favorite
do
team.
have me in for Atlanta. I just want to make sure that you got it right because I don't want any discrepancies.
Yeah, I have it on the list.
Okay.
But now we move on to the next game, Steelers versus Bills. This is Andy's team. They're going up to Buffalo. It's going to be a really tough game. I see Josh Allen coming out, slinging the ball. I think Diggs is going to ball over the Steelers' face. I think you're going to see a good dose of Devin Singletary and Zach Moss all over the Steelers' defense. I just don't see the Steelers being able to stop Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen will do just about whatever he wants to do here. This is pretty easy for me. I'm going to take the Bills pretty handedly here. I think the Bills win by 2 touchdowns. Ken, what do you say?
I remember last year people kept sleeping on the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they went a solid 3 months without losing a football game. This is a good team. This is a team that gets very slept on. They were the class of the AFC for a very long period of time. They did eventually fall off, but they've addressed some of those issues. They do not have a running game concern anymore. And one thing about Mike Tomlin that I know, he values that bell cow running back. So if they've addressed this hole and Harris is as good as what they say, then you're looking at the next Le'Veon Bell, Rashard Mendenhall, Willie Parker, next in line bell cow running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And when they have that, this offense churns. It takes a lot off of Roethlisberger. They do still have offensive line concerns, but they have a very talented wide receiver pool. And I think that their offense is deeper than Buffalo's. I think Pittsburgh has a better rushing attack. I think while Buffalo has the best receiver, I would still give the overall edge to the Pittsburgh receivers. And frankly, I think you're underrating Pittsburgh's defense. I think it's a top 3 defense in the league. While I do love Josh Allen and I really do like the Bills, I actually think they're going to regress a little bit this year compared to last year. That's just my opinion. Maybe I'm completely off on that. But I actually think the Steelers are going to come out hot. The stat that I've been saying all offseason is that last year, Juju Smith-Schuster caught 85 catches out of the slot. His average air yards on those throws was 4.7 yards. They need to open up the offense and let that boy run. Let that man run. Let him do something with the ball in his hands. Let Claypool do something with the ball in his hands and open up the offense a little bit and go back to doing what the Pittsburgh Steelers used to do best on offense, which is just move the ball down the field and collect yards in bunches behind Big Ben throwing 500 yards. And you know what? If Big Ben can't throw 500 yards, then let him break down and see what Dwayne Haskins can do. But I think that's how the Steelers win, and that's how they win this game. So put me down for Pittsburgh.
You got it. Oh,
I couldn't agree. It's hard for me to really add anything to that, Ken. The only thing I will say is, yes, I am going with the Pittsburgh Steelers to win this game. Do I like it? I don't know. We'll see. I definitely respect the Bills and what they've accomplished and what they're going to accomplish. So they could definitely win this game. I'm not hedging my bets. I'm just giving Buffalo some praise. But I will say, Ken, you're absolutely right. The Steelers do have a running game, and that's not what we had last year. So it changes up the entirety of this offense. Yes, we have offensive line concerns due to the Pittsburgh Steelers, but with a solid running game, that does alleviate some of the problems there on the offensive line because we're not going to be faced with blitzes, and the defenses will have to be honest a little bit more. So I think that there is something to that. My only concern is defensively, will we have TJ Watt week 1? He needs to have a new contract in hand signed before he plays. That's how it's been this whole training camp, and it hasn't been done yet. They hope to get it done tomorrow or Thursday. Is he in game shape? I don't know. That's my only concern about the Steelers defensively. Devin Bush is back, so I'm liking the Steelers defense with Minkah Fitzpatrick and whatnot. The only thing that really, really, really concerns me for the Steelers is the secondary on the cornerback side. Just don't have a lot of depth there. So that is an area of concern where maybe the Bills can exploit on the outside. But I am going with the Steelers in this game. I'm going with my heart. But also, I just don't think it's a bad pick. I think the Steelers are a touchdown underdog? I mean, that's an easy bet for me from the spread. But I might take Steelers money line here. So I'm going with the Steelers.
Bagels asked, do you think the contract going to be a distraction if negotiations linger into the season?
I don't think the organization will let it be a distraction, Bagels. I think that it's gonna get done as soon as possible. Like I said, they wanted to get it done before week 1. So I just don't see it lingering that much farther. So whether he gets it done and plays this week, I don't know. I think they can get it done as soon as possible.
Fair enough. So I've got you and Ken down for the Steelers, me down for the Bills.
Yep. Also, sleeper player for this game is definitely, in my mind, Devin Singletary. And I think people are sleeping on him quite a bit. He's still, I think, only 24 years old. This is his 3rd year in the league. He came in very young. And they said that his biggest issue last year was lack of conditioning. The Bills have come out outwardly and said that. So the main reason Singletary did not follow up his promising rookie year with a strong 2020 was because of a lack of a true offseason program due to the COVID issues. So he was affected by that more than others. He comes in this year in much better shape, and I think he is going to take that job pretty handily from Zach Moss.
My sneaky play is our boy Pat Freiermuth. They're going to go to the red zone, and Freiermuth is going to be there for Ben Roethlisberger. I think Freiermuth's shown in the preseason that Ben can trust him, and and that's what the Steelers lacked last year as well was a weapon and. Weapon in the red zone other than Chase Claypool. Chase Claypool was scoring a lot of touchdowns. I just think Ben loves the tight end in the red zone, and Pat is going to have a big-time season. So
he does scream Heath Miller, doesn't he?
That's what I was just about to say.
I was going to say, I think he might be a little bit better than Heath Miller, more athletic.
Probably, no, I mean, yeah, he probably is. But
yeah, no,
Heath Miller is just Iron Man, steady.
Yeah, love
Mr.
Heath
Reliable.
Miller, always have, always will. But I think Pat is going to be the next big tight end in this league.
I like it.
Other than
moving on, we've got the Minnesota Vikings visiting the Cincinnati Bengals. We'll start with Ken here. Ken, what are your thoughts here? Do you think the Vikings go into Cincy and do their thing, or I feel like this game's pretty close to even in my opinion.
This is a tough one. I was kind of looking at this back and forth when I filled out my picks for the week. This was one of the last ones I filled out because I was really torn. And I know that there's a lot that goes into this, but I kind of don't really like the way the Vikings camp and preseason has been going between Jefferson getting hurt. And I know he should be okay and ready to go, but he did miss some time and they've had issues elsewhere. Adam Thielen has been hurt. Irv Smith is now out for the year, and they brought in Chris Herndon, who definitely does not know the offense yet. And they've lost a couple other receivers. They are very thin for pass catchers and also have some question marks with Kirk Cousins, who has been very vocal about not wanting to be vaccinated. So the concern there being is what happens if he runs into a situation similar to Cam Newton and all of a sudden the Vikings are without their starting quarterback for a game. Not that really has an impact here, but I don't think it bodes well for their chemistry and their longevity for the season. Whereas the Bengals have some different issues. They have to really come together and protect Joe Burrow and basically play like he's in a bubble. Don't let anybody touch him. And I don't think the O-line is good enough to do that. Where I think you're going to have to rely on is this very talented pool of pass catchers, mainly, in my opinion, Tyler Boyd, which brings me to my stat of the game. Tyler Boyd is the first Bengal or the only Bengal not named A.J. Green to have back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons since 2006-2007. He's extremely underrated. He plays in the slot, and he's not going to have the separation issues that have been cited so far for Jamar Chase. Separation issues are going to be a problem when you're trying to help your young quarterback stay upright. So I think you're going to see a lot of reliance on Tyler Boyd. I think he's going to be the best wide receiver of this group. I think T. Higgins is going to be the second because he'll have another year under his belt. And I do think he showed a lot of promise last year, and I think you'll see Chase as the third receiver in this crew. Still with a bright future, but it's going to take a little bit of time. Yeah, yes, I was born Joseph. Thank you.
Those Bengals teams that you just mentioned were great too.
Oh,
Rudy
yeah.
Johnson,
TJ Houshmandzadeh and Chad Johnson were the two in 2006, 2007 specifically. Yeah, that was actually one of my first favorite teams.
That was my Madden team back then.
Yeah. As far as this game, if I haven't preluded to it in my summary of it, I'm gonna go with the Cincinnati Bengals here. It's kind of like a hope pick because I want them to do well. I want them to succeed. I want Joe Burrow to succeed. I want them to finally go in the right direction. And I don't really think Minnesota has really looked like they want it that much. And I question Minnesota. I question whether the defense is really that much improved. And I question that they're very thin with pass catchers. So put me down for the Bengals. Let's see what they got.
Andy, where are you leaning on this one?
Question is Justin Jefferson slated to play this weekend?
Yes, he is playing.
I did not hear that, so I just wanted to make sure. So here's my thing with Cincinnati. They're very, like I said, they have a lot of talent offensively. Joe Mixon, Tyler Boyd, like you said, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, obviously. So they do have and T. Higgins, exactly. So they do have a lot of talent on the offensive side that could, theoretically go in against a team that is not necessarily looking for them to and maybe pull off an upset. My biggest concern, though, is Cincinnati's offensive line. That's one. And their defense. Will they be able to shut down teams on the road? Defense travels on the road, and really Cincinnati doesn't have a big-time defense. So that's my concern going into this game. And when you have Minnesota, who does have a steady force in Dalvin Cook, who can, pretty much take over a game, and Justin Jefferson, that can make, Cousins look good. So this is the prototypical game for Cousins to do his thing and to make himself look like a solid quarterback. I think this does go back and forth, but ultimately I think Minnesota, with their home field advantage, maybe gets a couple more plays on defense, maybe gets a couple sacks against that Bengals offensive line late, wins the game by about a touchdown, maybe 4 points, something like that. But I definitely am going to side with Minnesota.
All right. So I got you down for the Vikings. This game is like Ken said, is interesting to me. I've gone back and forth on it a few times today. It was the one I struggled with the most, I think. I like the Vikings, and I want to pick them because I think Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook are just too much of an X factor for the Bengals defense to handle. But then you've got Joe Burrow on the other side, and it's a home game. Tyler Boyd looks strong. T. Higgins will probably be good. And like Ken said, Kirk Cousins has been iffy this preseason. He's very against the vaccine. It's just a weird vibe I'm getting from the Vikings. I think it's going to be a 3-point game, and it really could go either way. So I ended up flipping a coin on this one.
Gilbert Arenas style.
I did Vikings heads, Bengals tails, and it was heads. So I went with the Vikings here.
You pick tails. If it's heads, you got to choose the opposite. That's what Gilbert Arenas did, supposedly, when he chose his free agency.
I'm not Gilbert Arenas. I don't bring guns.
Don't take any advice from him.
I don't bring my Glock to my workplace.
I'm just fucking with you, Shane.
But it landed heads, so I'm going to go Vikings. But I think Ken could be right with the Bengals. I don't like to doubt Burrow. Burrow's a great quarterback, and if the Bengals can keep him clean, he could torch this Vikings defense. The Vikings defense is probably just as bad as the Bengals. Their front seven is probably a little better, but their secondary isn't that great. I think one of their best corners from last year might be in jail now. The kid they drafted, Jeff Gladney.
Oh, really? Oh, you're right. Yeah.
So it's iffy. I'll go with the Vikings. begrudgingly. But I wouldn't be surprised if Ken is a solo winner from this one. I do think Justin Jefferson has a good game, though, to prove everyone his shoulder's strong. Going into the next game, we've got the Niners visiting the Lions. Andy, how are you feeling about this?
Yeah, no, I think this will be a better game than most people will, put out there. Just because Detroit's going to need some time. I just don't think defensively they can keep up with a team like San Francisco who can basically run it down their throats. So for me, I think San Francisco's goal in this game is to really just hone in the time of possession, just run it down Detroit's defense's throats and get out of there with a win. And ideally, nobody gets hurt for San Francisco. I will say this. I think Detroit has a sneaky upside offensive team when you got a Jared Goff in there who wants to prove that he's still a legitimate quarterback in this league, and I think he is. But I think he just gets a little bit of backlash on that for whatever reason. But DeAndre Swift should be able to go in week 1 for Detroit. So, I do like their offense. I just don't think it's going to be good enough because I think their defense is going to have some issues, especially in the secondary. So I'm going to go San Francisco. I think they can – I don't know what the spread is on this. I'd have to take a look. But I think they could win by double digits in this game.
Ken, what says you, brother?
7.5 San Francisco.
It is one of the larger spreads.
7.5 San Francisco.
Yeah,
so I
do have a question for you, Ken. I know you're a Trey Lance guy, and you think he's got a lot of potential in this 49ers offense. Do you think Jimmy G has a short leash, and if he struggles in Detroit, that Trey Lance gets a quick call into the game?
I don't think so, because I don't think Shanahan's ready for Trey Lance to come in yet. I'm seeing that he's been limited. He hasn't been throwing much. So I think Trey Lance is going to be limited. So I think Jimmy's actually going to have a longer leash than people would want to see. I think they want to have Jimmy play the year. Jimmy has brought them to a Super Bowl before, so he's shown that he can do it. But the future with Trey Lance is kind of irrelevant. If you can think about it, to put it into context, the Chiefs were really good with Alex Smith at quarterback, right? They came in, they stomped the Patriots in the opener. Mahomes was sitting behind Alex Smith, and then Mahomes came in and he was the star. Not to say that Trey Lance is Mahomes, but Garoppolo could be that Alex Smith sort of holding the seat warm, keeping the seat warm for him, while Trey Lance is sort of that unknown potential superstar that Mahomes could be. And that's sort of the comp that I like, and I really like the surrounding cast in San Francisco. I think you could see something a little bit like that, maybe something a little bit like what Sean Payton does in New Orleans or did in New Orleans with Taysom Hill. I think that's certainly on the table. I think Lance will get into games. I just don't think he's going to be the starting quarterback yet. And I think that's okay. They'll wait till he's ready. They got a lot of stars and really nice talents blossoming around them. George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Trey Sermon. It's coming together nicely, I think. And one thing that they do better than anybody else is run the football. Last year they had almost 1,900 yards rushing as a team. The year before it was over 2,300. That's just what they do. And they have Raheem Mostert. They have Trey Sermon. They're going to do it again. And Detroit was one of the worst teams in the league at stopping the run. And I think they're in rebuild mode. While I don't like Jared Goff at all. But I do like TJ Hawkinson. I do like Amon-Ra St. Brown. But I just don't think they have winners around. Like Tyrell Williams is the number one receiver. That's going to blow up. That's not going to go well at all. And the running game is never something I trust. I don't trust Detroit running backs. I never have and probably never will. I think this is a lock for the San Francisco 49ers, despite the fact they had a rough season last year. Their pedigree is a lot better than what they were last year, which was a lost season. They're going to come out strong. They're going to contend in the West. I agree with Fig. This should be a double-digit win for the Niners.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as you guys. I do like Dan Campbell, though. I think he's an underrated coach. I know Andy probably thinks he's a crackpot, but I like him a lot.
We've seen him before, and I just we saw him before with this. Who was it? Who did he coach in Miami?
Miami. Yeah, he was an intern interim.
Yeah, I don't know. He's got some proving to me, but
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a disaster.
And while I actually am on the Jared Goff train, I think he's away from LA. He's in Detroit. There's not much expectation on him. I do like DeAndre Swift. I like Jamal Williams. I do love Amon-Ra St. Brown, best name in football right now, easily. I think he could be a solid possession receiver. He's not the fastest guy, but he runs crisp routes, similar to Michael Thomas. Not saying he is Michael Thomas, but I think he is a good receiver. But I just think the Niners have too much. I think their defense is much better than it was last year. I don't. Last year, I'm trying not to really pay attention too much to what happened last year, because of the craziness of COVID. Like Ken said in an earlier statement, I think with a lack of an actual off-season workouts and stuff, and a training camp, I think it really threw a lot of players off. So you're going to see teams that were great before COVID, I think, kind of come back around now that they've had a full camp. They're able to get their players worked out, get them in shape. They know they're working out because they're at the facilities. I think the Niners are going to be one of those teams where we're like, damn, they're back. And I don't think last year was I think it was an outlier more than it was a fact. So I'm going to go the Niners here. I think Jimmy G has a good game. I think he does his thing. I think Trey Sermon, Ken's boy, Ken loves him. I think he comes in, does his thing, has a good game. Overall, I think the Niners probably win double digits, like the boys said. So I'll go Niners here.
I can't believe we have Jared Goff apologists in here.
We spent too much time on that game, though. I'll tell you that.
Moving on, I'm starting Ken here because this is a dilemma game for Ken, right? Oh. Cardinals going to Tennessee. His two boys facing each other: Kyler Murray versus Derrick Henry. Ken is a big Kyler Murray and Derrick Henry guy. I think he's going to lean one way. I'm pretty sure, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, Ken.
No, I've been hyping the Titans most of the offseason. They were the team that if you asked me to put $1,000 on a team to win the Super Bowl, I would put it on the Titans just to see how it goes, because I think it has an outside chance of coming to fruition with what they've done to this offense. My stat for this one is that Derrick Henry, and I've used this stat before, 708 of his league-leading 2,027 yards last year came against 8 or more men in the box. That's 35% of his rushing yards total. And you know what's going to happen if you put 8 men in the box against this Titans offense? It means you are leaving A.J. Brown or Julio Jones with just a lowly, sad little cornerback out there on an island against a freak wide receiver. So this is not an offense that you can stop. This is an offense that you have to limit or hope to contain. And there's not many offenses in the game like that. There's one in Kansas City. There's one in Tennessee. I don't think there's many others. People keep sleeping on Ryan Tannehill. 21 of his 26 starts, he's had over 25 fantasy points. So he's a very, very good fantasy quarterback, especially since he's gone to the Titans. It's a very good stat. He's on par with the likes of actually, to be honest, if you look at him and his starts with the Titans compared to all the other quarterbacks, he does slot in right under that tier of Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. He is that sort of that tier 2 quarterback, but he doesn't always get the hype like that. So I'm a believer. I think for the Cardinals, you need to see a year 3 growth from Kingsbury Murray's system, so to speak. And if it doesn't work, you're going to see Kingsbury never live up to his discount Sean McVay tag that he was given, and you're going to see him probably one of the coaches that's getting the cut in the offseason. But that's still a ways away. We do love Kyler Murray. I could take the whole Titans offense, and I wouldn't be that worried.
How fun league, right?
I still think there's some question marks for the Cardinals. How's AJ Green going to integrate? What's the backfield going to be like? They don't have Kenyon Drake anymore. They do have Chase Edmonds still, but he is not a guy who's going to take up a ton of carries. And of course, they brought in James Conner, but We'll see. James Conner didn't exactly inspire much confidence towards the end in Pittsburgh. So I like the Titans. I think they're by far the more complete team in this game. Not that I don't like the Cardinals, but I don't expect the Cardinals to come anywhere close to the Super Bowl. And I think the Titans are going to be a top 4 team at the end of the season in terms of being in the AFC title game, probably against Kansas City. That's my prediction. So, of course, I will go with the Titans here.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you here on this one. And the biggest matchup to me that I'm interested in is Tennessee's run game versus Arizona's somewhat supposedly improved defense. And the way I say supposedly is because I want to see it first. I love the addition of Zaven Collins at the linebacker position in the draft.
How much does J.J. Watt have left?
In that as well. So for me, I Arizona ranked 20th in rushing defense last season. So I want to see if they're improved. If I'm Tennessee, that's where I lean on is Derrick Henry. Obviously, they want to show off their new toy in Julio Jones. But for me, I'm going Tennessee here. The spread is Tennessee -3. From what I see, I think they cover that spread. I think they win by at least 6, potentially a touchdown in this game. So I'm going Tennessee, Shane.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm definitely going Tennessee as well. I love Kyler. Don't get me wrong, but like Ken said, this offense it's just a lot for Arizona's defense. I think Arizona's defense is going to be much improved this year. I think they've made some good additions through the draft and through free agency. I still love Byron Murphy, but they only have one really top-tier corner, which is Murphy, in my opinion, for 2 receivers that I think are going to go absolutely bonkers with Ryan Tannehill. Ken's turned me into a Tannehill guy, so I think he's going to have a good season. But I'm definitely going Tennessee. I think Tennessee wins by at least, I'll say 10 points. I think they'll be pretty good. It's going to be hard to stop Henry. Henry's going to break all rushing records this year, in my opinion. If he gets 400 plus carries, it's definitely going to happen. But yeah, I'll go Tennessee here. Moving on to the next one. This is a game where Andy's bet for MVP is going to be playing. We got the Seahawks visiting Indianapolis. Always interesting to see a West Coast team travel first week. Maybe they get a little jet lag, but let's see. What says you, Andy? Do you think Carson Wentz has what it takes to get the best of Russell Wilson, or has Russell Wilson got this in the bag?
I think this is going to be – I really don't know what to expect in this game. I could see this being a track meet, but I could also see in this being a pretty solid defensive game by both sides. The spread here is Seattle -2.5 with the over-under at 48.5. This is tough. I really want to go Indianapolis here. I'm so conflicted. I've been thinking about this for, as we've started this, this segment. I'm going to lean – you know what? I'm going to lean on Indianapolis, and here's why. I love Carson Wentz. I've said that, and I've said it all offseason, but I love the Colts running game. And I just don't know if I can trust Seattle's offensive line going in. Indianapolis with the home field advantage. I don't know if they have the best pass rush. Indianapolis has the best pass rush coming into this season, but I feel like, they do have a solid defense. They do have a solid secondary. I love Jonathan Taylor. Mack is back as well. I love Michael Pittman. So I think they have what it takes offensively as well. So I'm going to go home field here. I'm going to go with the Indianapolis Colts to win by about a field goal. So the spread is Seattle -2.5. I'm going to take Indianapolis here.
Muted Shaney.
Shane's on mute.
I like it. Sorry about that. Ken, I do have a question for you before you get into your analysis here.
Yeah.
So I was just watching some preseason highlights, and Paris Campbell showed up a couple times this preseason. Do you think Campbell, after having a full training camp, last year I think was his second or third year?
Yeah.
But I kind of consider last year a wash, so maybe this is his magical third year, technically. Do you think he has the potential to break out this season?
It's kind of funny that you asked that because I actually have a note right here in my notes that says who is the wide receiver one for the Indianapolis Colts. I think it's a very good question because you do have the aging T.Y. Hilton who's aging very quickly and certainly not what he
He's
once
injured
was.
right now.
Yeah, he's out for this game.
Yeah, and he's not even going to be playing. And now you have Paris Campbell and Michael Pittman, who in my opinion,
did sign Kiki Kuti, who was cut by the Houston Texans as well, just to add depth. But
he's kind of a bum. Honestly,
not saying that's why they win, but I'm just telling everybody out there.
To answer your question, Shane, while I do like Paris Campbell, my eggs are all in on the Pittman basket. I really like him. I think he's very polished. I think he's a very efficient NFL wide receiver and somebody that like a Carson Wentz would really connect with. So if you were going to ask me who's going to be the breakout of the group, it would be Michael Pittman. But I certainly think Paris Campbell could be on radars as sort of a wide receiver 3 for fantasy purposes. I think he could certainly get to that cusp for. I think Pittman, he's a wide receiver 2 with wide receiver 1 upside if Carson Wentz stays upright and healthy. Vig said he loves Carson Wentz. I love Frank Reich. He might be my favorite coach in the NFL. I think he's very, very underrated and very intelligent, and he's one of those guys that gets the most out of everybody. It's funny because the public is actually heavy on Seattle on this game, and I think it's because of the Wentz injury. This game was originally when the line kind of was teased opened in July. It was the Colts minus 2.5. And then it shifted 5 points when Carson Wentz got hurt. So if anything, the spread's already accounting for Carson Wentz's injury. And with the recent news being positive, i.e. that he's playing, I actually think you could be getting a bargain with the home Colts. I'm going to take the Colts here. And I think I'm going to have I have a little bit more confidence in it than Vig does, I think. I actually think the Colts are a pretty good pick this week.
Yeah. I thought I was muted again. I actually like the Colts a lot this week as well. I know Ryan Crawford in the chat, one of our loyal listeners weekly, is a big Colts guy, and he doesn't like Wentz. I actually, on the other hand, with Reich, I love Wentz.
I do too.
Wentz had his best years with Reich. And what Wentz didn't – what Wentz –
I've always said it like 20 times on this podcast.
Andy, fuck you. But anyways, I actually like Wentz a lot because in Indy, Wentz has something he never had in Philly, and that's an amazing offensive line.
Yes.
Quentin Nelson is playing this week. So I think as long as Wentz stays upright, he's not going to have to scramble a lot. He can pretty much just sit in that pocket, I think. That's how good that line is. He's got a solid run game with Jonathan Taylor. I'm also a big Pittman guy. Ken, actually, funny story. Last year in Andy and I's 16-team Dynasty League that Ryan Crawford's in, I hinted to Andy that I like Michael Pittman and that I was a big fan of him. Andy had no idea who he was.
That's not
and
true.
Then guess what? Guess what? Andy looks him up, watches some highlights, then trades up in front of me to take him.
I'm pretty sure I had that pick, Shane. I didn't trade off.
But Andy, whatever you want, whatever makes you feel better, whatever helps you sleep at night. Anyways, Andy had no idea who he was. And I told him about him. And then Andy watches a little bit of video and instantly snatches him from me. It allowed me to get CeeDee Lamb on my team. But I felt a little offended that I did the work for Andy and he stole my guy. But it's okay because it's fantasy and I want to see Pittman do good because I was a big fan of his dad and I'm a big fan of him. I think, and I alluded to you earlier that I think Paris Campbell could have a big season. He's fast. He's big. I'm with Ken on this one. I think that the Colts actually can win by more than 2.5. I'm riding the Colts.
This is
and I think they could win by 7 to 10 points, at least one touchdown.
This is complete slander, by the way. I knew who he was, Shane, but truthfully, he was not on my radar at that point. So
you didn't know who he was.
I did.
You asked me who he was when I said it. I said, "You know who his dad is?" You said, "Who's Michael Pittman?"
Okay.
Where did he play? I don't even know where he went.
He played at USC.
USC. All right.
But anyways, moving on. This is a conversation for later. We've got the Chargers visiting the Washington football team. And this is a big game for Justin Herbert. I think everyone has Herbert labeled as the next coming, the next wave of quarterbacks, the leader of that wave. And he's going in against a buzzsaw defense in the Washington football team. I think this game, I'm trying to find the spread.
Shane, the spread
they've
is
got the Chargers favored by 1 point.
Chargers -1 at this point, yeah.
I don't know, man. I think I would take the football team. I'm riding the football team on this one. I think the football team just has a really good defense. I think they're going to stifle Herbert. They look great in the preseason. Chase Young looks like an animal. He's going to be tough to block. I think he's everything Jadeveon Clowney was supposed to be coming out of college. Chase Young's been just as good as advertised. I think the football team win this one by at least 3 points. I'm going to go football team here. Ken, what do you got on this one?
Oh shit! That actually makes me feel really old. That Ryan Crawford. I did not know. I guess I should have known that Michael Pittman Jr. was the son of Michael Pittman, the Tampa running back. But that makes me feel like an old fuck. Anyway,
well, that's like Asante Samuel Jr. on the Chargers.
Yeah, that makes me feel like an old fuck too. Yeah. Okay, the Chargers and the football team. I don't understand the spread, and maybe it's just the Herbert. Sort of,
it's got to be the Herbert love,
contagiousness to it, or is it something else? Because I actually think the football team is a pretty complete team outside of quarterback, and they did address quarterback. They have a veteran quarterback that, as long as he doesn't screw up, I actually think Washington's a potential playoff team this year. They have slam dunk 100% lock breakouts in Terry McLaurin and Antonio Gibson, who are going to be front end.
Plus Curtis Samuel.
Yeah, and don't even sleep on Curtis Samuel. He broke out last year, and as long as you get him involved, this is a pretty good offense. And I actually like Washington to contend in the NFC West. There's, my opinion, potentially the best defense in the league. Shane said it. They are a stifling good defense. And to me, it's almost like, are you going to pick the quarterback or are you going to pick the complete team? Right. Because I feel like the Chargers have a quarterback and are still trying to figure everything else out. And Washington has a complete team, and they're trying to figure quarterback out. I'm going to go with the more complete team and not the more complete quarterback. I think Washington wins this game, maybe not comfortably, but I just think I want to see the Chargers not be the Chargers that they've been for the last 20 years, which is they love losing close games. They don't do the intangibles and the little things right. That's a mind frame change, and they've gone through multiple coaches and they've never shaken that mold. They've always been losers, and I hope Herbert isn't a loser. But I'm gonna stick with the football team here.
I like it, Andy. Before you pick your team, I do have a question for you.
Yeah.
If Washington got any other quarterback but Fitzpatrick, Ken, you can chime in on this too. If Washington got any other quarterback but Fitzpatrick, maybe Teddy Bridgewater or Jameis Winston, do we see this spread more in the favor of the football team? Maybe a 3-point spread for the football team if they had any other quarterback but Fitzpatrick?
It's tough for me to say, Shane, because you talk about the other quarterbacks that were on free agency. I don't know. I think, the Teddy Bridgewater, I don't know if he moves the needle like Fitzpatrick, does. But, for me, if they traded for Aaron Rodgers, that's a different conversation. So for me, if that were the case, yes. But I don't know. I think we have a similar conversation if Bridgewater is on this team, or I'm trying to think, say if they traded for Sam Darnold,
or Winston.
Or Jameis Winston, but he was already on New Orleans last year. But, for me, if they had a number one quarterback, this wouldn't even be a topic of conversation. I agree with Ken's kind of analysis. Do we take the quarterback and Herbert, who's going to be a superstar, or do we go with the complete team in Washington? I love the Washington football team's defense. You know how I've felt about that. Chase Young. He's on my Dynasty League team and our big one, so I'm a huge Chase Young fan. They were so impressive last year, Shane, coming down the stretch, which is one of the reasons why they made the playoffs. If Fitzpatrick can instill some of his Fitz magic with this organization, it'll be the best team he's been on in a while. So that, to me, if Fitzpatrick can instill some Fitz magic, they win this game on Sunday. If there's some turnovers, if there's some issues, I got to go with the quarterback, but I am going to roll with Washington. It's going to be a very close game. I feel more comfortable about the under in this game than any other play. I believe the over-under right now for betting purposes is 44.5. I'm liking the under in this game. I just think we're going to have a lot of defense, a lot of pass rush between Joey Bosa on the Chargers side and Chase Young and co. on the Washington side. So, yeah, I'm huge on the under in this game, but I am going to say Washington sneaks it out late.
Just some final thoughts before we move on to the Jets-Panthers. I think this is a game where don't give up on Herbert after this game, because I think Herbert's going to struggle a lot. I don't think the Chargers have an amazing offensive line to be able to stop this stifling pass rush. So I think you're going to see a lot of defenders in his face, and you could see him throw 3 interceptions this game and maybe look the worst he's looked his whole career. Which
Cards are going to take a 10% hit Sunday night. Get your buying shoes on.
I think you're going to see a New York Giants versus Patriots Super Bowl performance out of Herbert, where Brady was just getting crushed by the Giants defensive line. I think that's what's going to happen, and it's just not going to bode well for Herbert. And like Ken said, Herbert's cards, people are going to panic sell because they're going to think he's having a second-year slump, and his card prices will go down. So if you are looking to buy into that, it's a good chance to buy, because I do think the football team win this game. We're all online on that, and now we get to Andy's favorite moment here, where we all praise Sam Darnold. He's been on the Sam Darnold train for quite some time.
Since his rookie year, Shane, I've taken a lot of hits. I've taken a lot of hits, and I'm hoping this is my revenge year for the Sam Darnold narrative. And to be honest with you, the Jets could be a sneaky team this year. They could sneak up on some people. Wilson has had a great preseason. He has a nice connection with Corey Davis. So I'm thinking that the Jets could be better than most people give them credit for. But I think a lot of people think the Jets are going to win only like 3 games this year. So that's kind of where I'm basing it. Not saying they're going to make a playoff run or anything, but I just think that Wilson will have a much better season than I think people are giving credit, that they're going to say. But this is going to be Carolina Panthers weekend. Sam Darnold has the best weapons that he's ever had in his career, and that includes Robbie Anderson when he was with the Jets as well. Christian McCaffrey is the best running back bar none he's ever had. So that's a big thing. He's coming back. He's going to be motivated. I just think Carolina at home, getting McCaffrey back, I think they're just going to have a spark that the Jets, I just don't know if they can stop all their weapons defensively. I'm going with Carolina to roll by double digits.
Fair enough. Ken, where are you leaning on this? I feel like you might be with the CMC train.
Yep. I do believe CMC is the most effective player in the league. I think what Matt Rule's – is it Rule?
Rule.
Yeah.
What he's doing in Carolina, I think, is very, very savvy. He's going in the right direction. He's making all the right moves. This is a really good offense. Vic brought up most of the big names. I think the rookies that they've drafted on this offense are extremely underrated. Hubbard, who I think is going to be the first true backup handcuff they've had for CMC. This kid was a world-class sprinter as a teenager. He had the 4th fastest time in his age group in the 100-meter dash at the World Youth Championships in 2015. So this is a kid that's quick, and that's sort of what I think you need to be if you want to be a little CMC light. So he'll fit right in if he needs to. And Terrace Marshall Jr., a lot of people are going to know that name, maybe not right away, but in a couple of years, I think a lot of people are going to know
sooner than
Terrace
that.
Marshall is.
Sooner than that.
Yeah, he led the team in receiving in the preseason. He played a lot. He's a 59th overall pick, 6'3", big-bodied receiver. And we're all saying the same thing. Carolina's the more complete team. Sam Darnold's revenge game. The offense is really coming together. The defense has young talent that's coming together. They're on the right track. They'll definitely win this game. I'm not worried. They might actually be one of my considerations for the survivor pool.
Yeah, I really like the Panthers. More so, the boys talked about their offense. I'm just going to touch on their defense real quick because I have the Panthers in this game too. But they have Brian Burns, Derek Brown. That's pretty formidable up front. He's really young. Obviously, Shaq Thompson's back. They brought in Hassan Reddick. They've got two really solid corners, in my opinion, in Dante Jackson and J.C. Horn. And then Jeremy Chin and Justin Burris, really young DBs that I think are solid, that are really going to lock up these Jet receivers. I think you'll see Zach Wilson struggle a little bit because the pass rush, I think, is going to be humming. I love Brian Burns. I think he's one of the better pass rushers in the league. Of course, he's a Knoll, so I got to love him. But he's really shown that he's a solid pass rusher. He's stepped up over the last couple of years. Like Ken said, Terrace Marshall is going to be an excellent slot receiver this year. 6'3", kid can run a 4.3. He's fast. He's big. DJ Moore, who I feel like he gets overlooked a lot on that team because a lot of people are talking about Terrace Marshall and Robbie Anderson because of Sam Darnold's old connection with Robbie Anderson, and then Terrace Marshall's the new face of the team, so DJ Moore gets overlooked a little bit. But DJ Moore was a great receiver last year with Bridgewater. Like Ken said, Matt Rule's done a great job. Joe Brady's done an awesome job with this offense. Mm-hmm. I don't see why he had a lot of success with Bridgewater last year. I don't see why he won't have the same success this year with Darnold. They are different quarterbacks. But like Ken said, and like Andy said, I'm rolling with the Panthers, double digits. Zach Wilson's going to be good, but this isn't his time.
Two things to watch for the Jets are does Zach Wilson gravitate towards the rookies, Elijah Moore and Michael Carter? Or does he gravitate towards the vets, Corey Davis and Tevin Coleman? I think that'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, just in general, I haven't been interested in watching a Jets game in years. So
Elijah Moore and Jamison Crowder are listed as starters, actually, which is interesting.
Really?
Looks like they are starting. I don't know if that includes Corey Davis. I assume it does, and they're starting 3 wideouts because they just snipped Herndon. So
yeah,
looks like they're starting 3 receivers.
But I'm excited because there's a lot of teams that are just teams that weren't exciting to watch that have brought in some good players and have made it interesting for us to, get back to it. But Ken, going to the Jags versus the Texans, I feel like this is a pretty easy one to predict. But Tyrod Taylor was named the starter in Houston. Are you leaning more Jacksonville, or are you going Houston here?
I'll be brief with this one. I just think the difference in star power is going to be key here. Tyrod Taylor is not going to be saving anybody, and the Texans, I think, might be on the clock. We're 101 in the 2022 draft already. While I don't think Urban Meyer might be the right guy for Trevor Lawrence's development, they're not going to have any problem with this game. I think Houston's the worst team in the league, and Jacksonville should take care of business here. I'm not very confident in it, I guess. I don't know why. I would never consider Jacksonville for a survivor.
I'll piggyback off this for you, Ken. If I'm in a survivor league, or if I'm doing a survivor pool or whatever, right? I'm using the Jacksonville Jaguars this week to get out and get rid of them, because I don't know how good they're going to be this year, but they should damn sure beat the Texans. Okay, so that's kind of where I'm leaning with this. I think the spread in this game is Jacksonville -3. I think that's a pretty solid number. I could see that pushing, or I could see Jacksonville winning by 4. But I think Trevor Lawrence is going to show that he is Trevor Lawrence. I think they have a little bit more weaponry, and I think that they'll come out and they'll win this game.
Yeah, I'm on that bandwagon as well. I think Trevor Lawrence is the real difference maker here. I think Laviska's going to have a big game, and you're going to see James Robinson do James Robinson things. Obviously, he benefits the most from the Travis injury. So, but yeah, I think you see Jacksonville win by a touchdown at least. No real reason to spend a lot of time on that one. Next one, Ken, I'm going to start with you again. Browns are visiting the Chiefs. We're big Baker guys. Do you think Baker has what it takes to go into Kansas City and win on the road in Week 1, or do you think Kansas City has this pretty handedly?
He does. I think they actually have much more of a shot than one would think. Looking at the spread real quickly, it's Kansas City
-6.
Yeah, 6.
-6.
I don't know if I have the cojones to pick the Browns straight up, but I actually think they match up much better with the Chiefs now than they did the last time they played. They have a very solid pair of edge rushers in Clowney and Garrett. I know the Chiefs have retooled their O-line, but at the same time, they couldn't keep up with Tyreek Hill, and the Browns have gotten faster. They have definitely gotten faster. They brought in Anthony Walker. They drafted Greg Newsome. They are faster. They can keep up with these receivers now. And that's going to be interesting. I think they're gonna come out and they're gonna play a lot harder. I love the Browns +6, but I like the Chiefs for the win. I'm going to have to stick with that. So I guess for our purposes here, I'm going with the Chiefs. But I would be a gambling man at the +6. I think.
I'm with you. I'm with you, Ken.
And the Browns get Grant Delpit back too, who they didn't have at all last year because he was hurt.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking like this is the type of game that the Chiefs edge out barely, and what the real talking point is that the Browns are legit. That's kind of what I'm thinking this goes.
Yeah, Andy.
So yeah, I'm with you on the +6 for sure. And I wouldn't rule out a Brown, and I really hate to say this, but I would not rule out a Browns victory here. And the reason being is that they have the offensive line, and they have the 2 running backs and Chubb and Hunt to be able to control tempo. And that's what you need to do when, especially not only when you face a Patrick Mahomes team, but when you go into Kansas City, when you go into that environment, you need to A, keep that crowd silent, and B, keep Patrick Mahomes on the sideline. So when they have the running game to do that. And if they take about 60 to 65% of time of possession, they're coming out of there with a win. So believe it or not, I'm going to go with Cleveland. Nice. I think that they have the defense. It's my bold prediction of the week. I think Cleveland wins this game. And I know Bagels is just going unbelievably nuts right now that I'm actually making this prediction. But I just think they have what it takes to go in there and get the job done.
No, I like it. That's a bold pick. And actually, I thought you were going to ride the Chiefs, and I thought I was going to be the one that took the Browns because I'm actually going Browns as well. I just think they have what it takes to go in there and surprise the Chiefs, catch them on maybe a Week 1 lull. I think their defense is much more improved. Like Ken said, they brought in a lot of speed. Grant Delpit's going to be back. That's a big upgrade to a team that felt like they were missing a safety last year. You've got Baker, of course. I love Baker. I think he's just got that winning mentality that you need to have in the NFL. It's really old school in my opinion, and it's like a breath of fresh air, really.
Can I also add that the last time we saw Patrick Mahomes was in the Super Bowl, and he was running for his life. So if the Chiefs don't have the strong offensive line to help protect Patrick Mahomes from, say, a Myles Garrett and company, then physically, I just think Cleveland has what.
After rudely being interrupted by Andy, I'll continue, but I think Chubb and Kareem Hunt go wild. I don't think the Chiefs have the run defense to stop the Browns. I just think it's going to be a solid game. I'm going to go and say the Browns win by 14, 2 touchdowns.
Okay.
We'll see how it goes. I feel like they're going to come out and they're going to shock the world.
Ryan's got a point. Ryan's got a point though. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is not an NFL built running back. He's not big enough. I don't think. I think they're
I think he's about the same size as Gio Bernard, right?
Yeah, I think they still don't have They never addressed not having Le'Veon either. So they had Le'Veon last year to take a lot of the load off. I don't think they have that guy this year. So there's definitely questions for the Chiefs.
But
who's going to be the number two?
We got Ken taking the Chiefs. Andy and I riding on the Browns for this one. Andy, Dolphins versus Pats. Where are you leaning on this one?
Wow, I just have to take my I just got distracted. Pardon me. I just got a ridiculously bad trade offer in our Dynasty League, Shane, for David Montgomery. But I'll cue you in on that later. But so I'm going. And again, I hate to do this, but I am going with the New England Patriots, and here's why. And the game's in Foxborough. That makes a difference to me. I think New England is played so well at home, typically against the Miami Dolphins, and Mac Jones could be that difference maker. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt coming into Week 1, since he is the starter. I just think that. The combination in the running game with Damian Harris and remind me the other running back, Stevenson. Is that right?
Ramondre
Stevenson. Yeah, I just think that's where they're going to want to lean. I don't think they're going to want to lean too heavy on Mac Jones, but I think he'll be able to make the plays in crunch time. They certainly have faith in him, and I'll rely to you guys more on this game, but I'm going to roll with New England.
Ken, what do you got on this one, brother?
The Patriots are a stone-cold lock in this game, is my opinion. I think the tide has completely turned with the turning over of the starting quarterback job. The aura of New England has completely changed. People were going in with Cam Newton ready to have another disastrous season where they win less than 8 games, and we find ourselves right back here at this time next year. To now Mac Jones taking over, and people are saying that we're a wild card team, which I think is quite a jump. But actually, I'm starting to buy into it. I think it seems to be well-known knowledge now that Mac certainly did win the job. Cam didn't lose it. So I think that goes to show that this kid might actually be able to play quarterback in this league. And what I think a kid needs to be able to play quarterback in this league is great coaching, which is something that a lot of talents don't ever get. But Mac Jones was lucky enough to get put into this situation with this coach, this system. Belichick is seeing red. I know, what I think pisses him off just as much as Brady winning the Super Bowl is that he lost his AFC East crown. And I think it could be a closer division race than people are willing to think between Buffalo and New England. I think New England actually could win 10 games. I think they could even win 11. I wouldn't be shocked. This defense is good. This running game is good. This O-line is good. The receivers are not great, but the tight ends are vastly improved, and we need a quarterback that can be serviceable, which I think Mac is able to do. I think they're a much more complete team than Miami, and I think the Patriots will win by – I think they win by 6.
No, that's a good. That's kind of where I'm hedging my bets as well, 6 or 7. But I've got the Pats as well. I think Mac Jones is incredible. I think the receivers are going to be better than advertised. I think Kendrick Bourne's going to have a big season. Him and Mac Jones seem to have a pretty good relationship on and off the field. Kendrick has said nothing but great things about Mac in the media. So is Johnny Smith, actually. Both of them seem to love Mac Jones. And I'll point out the defense. Matt Judon, I think, is a huge upgrade on the defense and has really made a big difference already, and he hasn't even played a regular season snap. I've heard Josh Uche has been vastly improved this year as well, and people are calling him a mini Matt Judon. So if that's the case and he ends up taking over for Kyle Van Noy and we have likely 2 Judons on the outside rushing the quarterback. That's pretty dangerous stuff, right? I don't think we've had a pass rush in a
It's
while.
a deep defense because Josh Uche, Chase Winovich, Kyle Duggar, these are not even starters yet, and they're very good talents that really showed a lot as rookies that could only get better in time. And right now,
our second round pick, Christian Barrymore, isn't even starting yet at D tackle.
Nope.
He apparently impressed well in camp. Ronnie Perkins was apparently pretty good in camp as well. So I'm excited to kind of see what happens here. Like Ken said, this is a deep defense. If Anthony Jennings comes off the PUP list and does some damage as well, I mean, I think Belichick, for what he's lacked the last few years drafting in the first round, obviously he took N'Keal Harry, which was a disaster, over about 5 other receivers that have been great so far. But what he's lacked in the first round, he's made up for in these later rounds, taking these players that were just overlooked. And now our defense is looking pretty stout. I think, like Ken said, I think 11 games is definitely attainable. But I'll take the Pats I think they win by 7. We'll just say that. Next is another interesting matchup. It's a classic NFC matchup over the last decade. That's Packers versus Saints. I believe they're playing in Houston, right?
No, they're playing in
They can't
Jacksonville. They're playing in
They're playing
Jacksonville.
in Jacksonville?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. So no dome for the Saints. So their home field advantage maybe is a little gone. But the Saints always travel well, so we'll see how that goes. I'm excited to see Jameis play. I'm a big Alvin Kamara guy. Obviously, the Packers brought back Rodgers, so that's huge. But I'm going to roll the dice here and hope that you guys take the Packers. I'm going to take the Saints and hope I can sneak out an extra win. I think Jameis is going to show that he's vastly improved under why am I blanking on the Saints?
Sean Payton.
Yeah, Payton. And that Alvin Kamara is a big difference maker for him. I like Marquez Callaway a lot. That's Ken's boy. Ken put me onto him, and I've really liked his game. But I'm going to go the Saints here. I think they win by 3 points. I think that's fair. Ken, what are you liking in this one?
You're not alone because I think the Saints win this game as well. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to take his throne as the NFL's biggest douche tool bag again this year. And I don't think the Packers are going to be nearly as good as they were last year, mainly because I don't think their quarterback wants to play football anymore. And I think their coach hates them. And I think they hate each other. And I think it's just going to be a disaster. And I look forward to it. But for the Saints, I'm actually rooting hard for Jameis Winston to succeed in the worst way. I hope he has a good start under this new regimen with Sean Payton. He's in a much better situation. And with Marquez Callaway, there's top 24 wide receiver upside here in this kid. They need, for Jameis Winston's game, he needs a deep guy, a deep threat. That's what Callaway showed in the preseason, his capability, his ability to do by catching, I believe it was 2 touchdown passes in that one game from Jameis Winston. That's, I think, an ode to what's going to come. That's a little bit of a sneak preview. And I think that's what you're going to see a lot along with Alvin Kamara. I think Jameis is in a really good situation to succeed. And I think this is a team that would have competed against the Packers last year with Taysom Hill at quarterback or Teddy Bridgewater or whoever it was. The Saints were still very competitive and did not miss a beat without Drew Brees at quarterback in the past. So I don't see why they can't be competitive and not miss a beat without Drew Brees here too. So again, I'm all about it. I'm going with the Saints. You know, I hate Aaron Rodgers. I think he's. Do
you think Jameis has the potential to be a solid leader in New Orleans? That team could get behind?
It depends. I think he's kind of a whack job, so I don't know if people take him seriously. But I think he can play football decently. To me, I don't know if he'll ever be that sort of leader in the clubhouse because, like, like.
But do you think he's got like that goofy personality that like people gravitate towards?
Yeah, I think he'll be one of those guys that people like to root for, and I think if he is professional and he wants to play football, but he still acts like himself, people are gonna love him because he's fun. He's a fun guy. He needs to make sure he takes football seriously and hone in and limit the interceptions and do what he does best, which is sling it out, because he has a lot of talent.
Do you think he's like personality and game wise, he's like maybe a baby Cam Newton? I just think he's got that personality that people gravitate towards.
He's a lot less athletic than Cam Newton. I'll say that. He is
for sure.
He definitely can't run like Cam Newton. I don't know how he is in a clubhouse. I just know that a lot of guys got behind Cam Newton, and a lot of people really liked Cam Newton in their clubhouse and really respected him as a leader. And if Jameis can get into that role, I mean, that's what a career story. He needs to first prove that he can play quarterback first. Sure. And that's what I'm looking to see here is if he can beat the Packers and put a stranglehold over this job for himself and go through the season and throw 20 interceptions. Just don't throw 30. Like make little steps forward. Throw 35 touchdowns and 18 interceptions, and you're going to have a really good year.
Yeah. Andy, where are you leaning on this? This game is interesting, right?
It is very interesting. It could be one of the best games of the weekend. I will be going against you guys. I am picking the Packers in this game. I just think Aaron Rodgers, you can scream the narratives all you want. He's back. He wouldn't be back if he didn't want to play. Truly, I think he personally is out for revenge against not only his head coach, but against the front office to win a championship. And this probably will be his last season in Green Bay. But nonetheless, I think they just are deeper offensively. And I trust Aaron Rodgers more than I do Jameis Winston. I think Jameis will be much better because I don't think the coaching staff is going to ask him to be as aggressive as he was in Bruce Arians' offense in Tampa Bay. So I think that could be an improvement for him. I think overall this season we'll see an improvement for him. He needs to prove to me first against one of the better teams in the NFC. And then they're not at home either, Shane and Ken. I mean, they're in Jacksonville.
Oh yeah, that definitely.
And that to me is important as well. If this game were to be in New Orleans, I might think differently here. I just got to lean with Green Bay. I think it's a close game, relatively. I think it's probably within a touchdown, but I'm gonna go with Green Bay.
I'll ask you a similar question here, and maybe you give me a long-term answer, Andy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think if Jameis pulls out a win against the Packers here, technically on the road in Jacksonville, that you see a New Orleans community get behind Jameis and the Saints and kind of will them to a Super Bowl run like they made after Katrina? Because obviously New Orleans has been wrecked by Ida.
Yeah, no, I think you're on to something there, Shane. I mean, even if they lose this game coming up and they say they're away from New Orleans for the first quarter of the season and they're 2-2, I definitely think no matter what their record is, they're going to get a standing ovation. They're going to get the similar treatment that they did when, Katrina,
back in 06.
When they came back in 06 with Katrina. And wasn't that Drew Brees' first season as well?
Yeah, and it was Reggie Bush as well.
So, you have similar circumstances with the quarterback's first year as a starter with the Saints for Jameis Winston. But no, I see where you're going with that, Shane, and I don't necessarily disagree with you. I think that Green Bay has a lot to prove, this season. I think they want to get farther than the NFC Championship game. So I just think that they're going to go out and they're going to take care of business against a very good quality team in New Orleans, but I just think they're going to get it done.
Yeah, and I do want to piggyback on Ken's take that Jameis has a lot of help on this team. Jameis never had a running back like Alvin Kamara that just is like a do-everything running back. He never had that in Tampa. So I think that it adds an extra factor to the Saints and what they could do.
Saints Saints were also very quietly a top 5 team in yards per game and points per game.
And their defense isn't bad. They've got a solid secondary.
Exactly. It was top 5 in yards and points allowed per game last year. So it's no slouch.
Like Andy said, I think this is top 3 game of the week, in my opinion, for this week.
This will be the Fox game of the week, I assume.
Yeah, the NFC side. Yeah, I definitely agree. Now we're moving into another game I don't know if we need to spend a ton of time on. And that's going to be Broncos going to New York. Well, maybe we could spend a little bit of time. I'll go first on this one. I really like the Broncos going into New York. I know New York has added a lot of different facets to their offense. Kenny Golladay, of course. But I like the Broncos. I like Teddy Bridgewater. Like Ken said last week, Bridgewater was able to support 2 receivers and make them top. What were they? Top 25 receivers in fantasy last year. Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore. He's got Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, KJ Hamler, Tim Patrick, and Noah Fant. And they've got Melvin Gordon, who's not that great. I'm on the boat with Ken and think Javonte Williams takes over this job pretty early in the season. But I really like the Broncos offense. I don't like Vic Fangio. I wish they would have maybe brought in a more offensive-minded coach. But I do like the progression from Jeudy, from Hamler. I'd like to see how Sutton does coming back from injury. Noah Fant is probably going to take another step forward, especially with a quarterback like Bridgewater, who has shown that he's still kind of got it, right? I think the Broncos can win this game by 7 points, maybe 10. I think they're going to be a pretty solid team. Again, I'm not a huge fan of Vic Fangio. I also did want to touch on the Broncos' defense for a second. Their whole secondary is pretty much turned over, other than Justin Simmons. They brought in Kyle Fuller, Kareem Jackson, Ronald Darby. They drafted Patrick Surtain. I think Bryce Callahan was an ad early in the offseason. So they've just got a whole lot of new stuff in the secondary that they still have Von Miller. Bradley Chubb is going to be playing. So this defense is good. I think the Broncos are kind of sneaky. Maybe that team that wins 9 games, 10 games possibly. And you're just like, damn, I didn't think of that. I didn't even realize that they were doing that well. I think that's just kind of how sneaky they're going to be this year. I definitely think Broncos could win 9 games, and I think this first week they'll win in New York. Andy, what do you think on this one?
I'm with you, Shane. The only way it would go otherwise is if Barkley just went insane and the Giants kind of
Daniel Jones
and all that, and Daniel Jones with Kenny Golladay. But here's my concern here, and you touched on it, Shane, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but that defense is going to be very good, very underrated, especially with the edge rush with Von Miller returning from his season-ending injury last year, and Bradley Chubb. That defensive line should be pretty strong. And according to Pro Football Focus, they have the Giants listed as the worst offensive line graded coming into this season. So that is going to be the primary matchup I'm looking at, is the pass rush for the Denver Broncos against that.
And the line is Broncos -2.5.
Pretty bad offensive line for the Giants. So yeah, I'm going with the Broncos to win this game.
Ken, I assume you're following suit.
Yeah, the Giants O-line looks like shit. And the Broncos actually played most of their starters throughout most of the preseason, so they're not going to even have much of a growing pain going from camp to NFL live game action. Like you said, Bridgewater, I said it before, I think he's the right guy to lead this team to develop this young talent. Drew Lock proved he couldn't do it. And this is at least a 500 team, I think, in Denver, whereas the Giants are in a make-it-or-break-it season, and it's looking more and more like it's going to be a break. Joe Judge, I don't think looks like he's ready to be an NFL head coach. I'm rooting for Daniel Jones. I don't have much confidence in it. And as Andy said, the great equalizer here is going to be Saquon Barkley. He can shift the entire game. He has that capability. But I still think he's going to be eased in. So for that reason, I think the Broncos take care of business here. And frankly, I'm just not sold on his durability either, that being Barkley.
No,
so
yeah,
Broncos easily.
So I'm going to start with you again on this next game, Ken. But my lead-in question to you is going to be, so obviously it's Bears versus Rams. Bears go out to LA. Do you think Andy Dalton has a very short leash and we could see Justin Fields week 1? Or do you think Nagy stays with Dalton for at least maybe a quarter of the season?
I don't know. I think it's going to be a short leash because I'm not really sure why Dalton has the job, other than I think it was promised to him, and that's what they were going to go with, and they didn't want to rush him in. So I do think it could be a relatively short leash because I do think the Bears are a potential team that could make the wild card. So I don't think they're going to necessarily go down on a 1-4 ship or whatever and not see what Justin Fields has in them. As far as this game, the Rams are actually one of the top picks for most people in their survivor pool this week, and I think that's probably for a couple of reasons. One being that nobody really trusts Andy Dalton, the other being that the Rams are at home, and the third being that there's super, super high expectations for Matthew Stafford being with Sean McVay. I think Sean McVay did something a little dangerous here. And as we said earlier, I'm not the Jared Goff apologist of this group, but I do think McVay kind of made it seem like he needed a quarterback to really maximize his own potential, that being McVay's. And I think he kind of put a lot of the fault of the Rams on Goff. I don't know if you guys agree with me on that, but that's just kind of the take I've seen. So he better compete and he better do well with Stafford. He better, they should win or at least be a front runner in that division. I know that division's very strong, and there's not really a team that's necessarily out of it. But there's very high expectations for Matthew Stafford, and I think that is something that McVay has kind of manifested on his own because I think, as I said, he subtly put a lot of this blame on Jared Goff on the way out the door. And now if he's saying what he's saying is true and he has his quarterback, well, then what my expectation is that this McVay-led team should be a Super Bowl contender. And I don't think that's an incorrect assumption, given that this is the expectation that I think he has set for himself. So I'm going to pick the Rams because everybody tells me McVay's a genius, and he has set himself up with his quarterback and his team in a defense that averaged 2 points a game last season, literally a defense that averaged 2 points per game. That's a crazy stat. So this is a good team. And if Stafford is that quarterback that McVay has always wanted, then it's a complete team, and it's ready for a Super Bowl run. So they'll win easily against the Bears, right? That's what I'm going to go with.
Andy, what are you thinking on this? Do you think Stafford leads the Rams to victory here this week in LA?
Yeah, I think so. And again, similar to the last game we just predicted on, I'm going with the defense, the pass rush of the Rams against a pretty suspect Bears offensive line. The Bears offensive line coming in ranked 28th according to Pro Football Focus. Maybe that's why they're waiting on Justin Fields. They want to, maybe see if they can improve that offensive line a little bit or see if it can be any better or see how bad it is, and they want to kind of protect them from it. I think there's a chance we see Fields sooner rather than later because Dalton leaves because of an injury because of that bad offensive line. So, I'm going with the Rams here in this game. I believe the spread is Rams minus 7.5. I don't know if I'm in on that yet. I'm not there quite yet, but I'm definitely there on predicting the Rams to win the game.
Yeah, I'm not going to spend much time on this. I think Stafford definitely elevates that team to a different level. I think he's very good, very underrated. Definitely got overshadowed a lot because he was in Detroit. Didn't get a lot of television time other than Thanksgiving games. I think he does well with Sean McVay. I think you see the Rams come out and do pretty well. I think they definitely covered the 7.5. I think they could win by 10. 10 points is pretty fair, I think. Like Andy said and Ken said, I don't think Dalton's long for the Bears. I think Fields is right on the cusp and will eventually get that job. If Fields is in the game, I think we have a different conversation. I think it definitely adds a different variable. But for now, I'll go Rams. So all three of us take the Rams. We're pretty even on that, which leads us into what I think is the most interesting game of the week. It's kind of weird only having one Monday night game on Premier Week.
It's upsetting.
Yeah, I was used to the 7 o'clock and 10 o'clock games, but it is what it is, right? So we got the Ravens going out to Vegas to play the Raiders. I think this is an interesting game. I think they're Lamar versus Derek Carr. I think we're going to see a much more improved Derek Carr this year after having a full training camp. Ken, do you think the Raiders can maybe pull an upset here? Because I think the Ravens are favored.
Yeah, I'm not buying it. I think this Ravens team comes out ready to go. They usually do. The stat of the game, since 2016, the Ravens are 5-0 and have outscored their opponents 177-26 in week
Jesus
one
Christ.
opener. 177-26 in their last 5 openers. So they come out in fuego. Lamar Jackson usually comes out in fuego. I do agree with you where I think the Raiders might be in for a little bit more of a bump this year, a little more positive regression, I would call it for Carr. It still remains to be seen. There's still some questions to see. How does Kenyon Drake and Josh Jacobs align? Who's the wide receiver one, Henry Ruggs or Brian Edwards? But I think the most interesting storyline is probably on the other side of the ball because the Ravens actually just signed Le'Veon Bell, which is interesting to me. So now you've got Gus Edwards, Le'Veon Bell, and I believe Tyson Williams are the 3 running backs in Baltimore. So that's interesting. Interesting to say the least. Yeah, I'm sure Andy's ready to pop a blood vessel at that news or whatever. As for this game, I'm gonna stick with the stat, the 5-0, 177-26, and I'm gonna go with the Ravens here. Yeah, the Ravens are going to take care of business on Monday night, though I do have a counter question for either one of you. And I'm curious, by the time this season all boils down, what do you think the percentage of carries is between the 3 backs, Tyson Williams, Gus Edwards, and Le'Veon Bell?
I got to believe that Le'Veon probably doesn't play week 1, right, because he just signed. I've got to assume that it's got to be a Gus Edwards majority. He's proven that he can be a lead back in that offense. I actually like him a lot this year, but I do think with the signing of Bell, which was surprising to me, does eat into his carries a little bit. And I will say a stat that has always surprised me with Le'Veon is how well of a pass blocker he is. I think he only allowed 1 sack when he played in Pittsburgh, and he was in on every passing down pretty much. So that was something that the Steelers missed a lot, and I know Andy can attest to it. Is in those shotgun plays that Le'Veon was just such a good blocker. He didn't allow sacks. I think that's a big thing for the Ravens, and I think the Ravens are bringing him in, maybe not so much because of his running game, but because of his pass blocking ability. Not only that, but Le'Veon has always been regarded as an amazing clubhouse. As an amazing clubhouse guy.
He kept Antonio Brown in line before Antonio Brown became Antonio Brown.
Le'Veon was, even the old heads like Ike Taylor, Mike Wallace, a few others said that Le'Veon was always a stand-up guy in the locker room. He was always team first, game first. And
until he held out.
I guess he did keep Antonio Brown in check. So, Andy, I'll let you go now with your question and give us your prediction.
I've seen what he looks like in a Ravens uniform, and it's just gross. I'm sorry. That one hurts. But I am happy for him though, because unlike the Kansas City signing when he went there, he really went there just to try to cope a Super Bowl. He's going to go to Baltimore to play. I truly believe that. Whether he plays week 1, I don't know. He probably has to get – they wouldn't have signed him if he wasn't in solid shape, but I think he has to get in game shape. I think it's too quick for him to play this week, but we'll see. But nonetheless, I think he is there to play, and I think he'll get his opportunities. I think Gus Edwards is going to be the number 1 guy this year. I think Justice Hill went down, J.K. Dobbins went down, so Gus Edwards is going to be the guy, getting the majority of the work. but we'll see Le'Veon Bell for sure make an impact on this team. And
I
as
think I
far
agree with Bagels on the 40-20 split between Gus and Bell. I think that's fair.
as far as this week's concerned, yeah, I'm definitely on Baltimore. The spread is Baltimore -4.5. I'm there for the Ravens to play that. If I do decide to play that, that's where I'd be going. I just think the Ravens will just pound it down their throats, and I just don't see Las Vegas's defense keeping up with it, to be honest with you, for a full 60 minutes. So I'm on Baltimore to win by at least a touchdown. I'm more apt to say they win by double digits.
No, yeah, I definitely agree there. I think I do like Las Vegas, a lot. I thought they had a very good draft. I thought they drafted well, and I think having a camp this year bodes well for them. Last year they missed it. They had a lot of rookies last year that they had to integrate via Zoom calls and workouts. So I don't think we saw a full potential Henry Ruggs or Bryan Edwards last year. I think they were really missing out on camp. And Henry Ruggs said he put on 15 pounds of muscle. I don't know how that works for a speedster. I know Ken was a little befuddled by that as well. But I am interested to see it. If that works out for him, great. And in my opinion, they have the second best tight end in the league other than Travis Kelce, which is Darren Waller. Darren Waller's been great in Las Vegas. I think he's going to continue to be great. I am interested to see what Jacobs and Kenyon Drake can do. That's an interesting pair.
Mm-hmm.
But their defense is good too. Travion Morig was an amazing pick. I think he's going to be a great safety with Jonathan Abram. I think Casey Hayward was a big add. Trayvon Mullen is going to be nice. They've got a good defense. Yannick Ngakoue is a great add with Max Crosby. So their defense is solid. I do think the Ravens win this week, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than what people expect. I would say that it could be maybe a 1 to 3 point game. That's how close I think this game could be. But I'm going to go with the Ravens. That stat that Ken threw out was stifling. So I'll go with the Ravens, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders shock the Ravens in this one. I think it's going to be that close. Ken, do you have any closing thoughts on the Raiders and if they might be a solid team going forward?
No, I think they're right around that middling 500 range. I think that's probably fair to expect going for this year. It's going in the right direction, I guess, but it's very slow. Gruden's growth has been very slow in Vegas, but they're patient. They have to be. They signed him to a $1 zillion mega deal, brand new $1 zillion stadium. They threw every dollar they had at Gruden in Vegas. So this is it.
How surprised would you be if Vegas just shocked the world and won 12 games?
I'd be very shocked.
I'd be surprised.
I'd be very shocked.
And that's because if they win 12 games, it's because of their defense somehow, some way improved.
Yeah, I mean their defense is very good, man.
I don't know.
Is it very good? I'm not convinced of that.
I'm not convinced of that either.
I think Carr is a middle of the road quarterback. I'm not a Henry Ruggs guy.
Offense will make their games entertaining for sure. I just don't see them winning more than 9 games. I think 7 to 8 games is a stretch. It is where they are.
No, that's fair. That's definitely fair. I think the Raiders are going to be better than advertised. I do think that 9 games is potentially possible. The 12 is just a hypothetical, of course. But that's going to be it for us for our 2-hour special going over these picks. Let us know how you like it, guys. Tweet at us, comment, hit us up on Facebook. We all have it. Let us know what you think. If you like this format, we'd like to continue going on with it. Maybe we sneak in an extra show throughout the weeks to do like a special pick'em, so that way we can do some other stuff as well.
Yeah, we'll have to do that.
We're definitely going to have conversation about this because I want to continue this throughout. This was fun. But no, I hope everyone enjoyed it. I hope everyone has a great week of football starting on Thursday. I'm super excited. Go Cowboys for this week. But yeah, Ken, let us know where we can follow you, brother.
Of course, Shane. Thank you. You can actually, Ryan, don't ever apologize for commenting so much. But
You never apologize.
no, we like the company. But yeah, no, you can find me always at Kembo J Slice. That's my personal account. EC Breaking Code. That's my hobby account. We did not get to the collectibles today, but that's because we were talking so much football. But that's where you'll find me. You'll see them both right there. Find me on Twitter. Hit me up, and we'll be coming at you with some more breaks actually in the next couple of days, I think. So
Yes.
if you're interested, we got our guy Xavier in last week. Actually, his name's not really Xavier. It's Jacob. He was a listener last week. We got him in. He was enjoying it. That's a Viggy guy, I think. Got him on the cards. So come on over, have some fun.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Xavier is my dude in the betting space.
Yeah, his name's
he
Xavier.
actually DM'd me and was like, "Hey, what?" He asked me a question. I'm like, "I don't know the answer to that." Hit up Shane and hit up Steve,
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
and he'll get you in the Discord.
Of course.
No,
yeah.
definitely. If you're a Viggy guy and you're watching this and you like to make money, get with Ken. Guy has magic hands.
I mean,
Great,
stay with
great
me
stuff.
too, because I'm gonna get you money. But
Oh, yeah.
definitely-
Stay
Oh
with
yeah, I
Andy.
mean, we have different.
But I
we have
will say,
different-
Ken pull with heat.
Viggy
Ken
and I
pull-
come from. Viggy and I have access to different money fountains.
we'll
Ken
both
pulls
do
heat.
you good.
And I just sold 3 Jerry Judys for close to $600 last week.
Did you?
So there's definitely money to be made in the card world.
I
So
know.
if you're
I
a Viggy
actually.
guy and you like making money, get with Ken.
It's funny you say that. I stumbled upon something like I bought all these certified hobby boxes for like some price, and then I looked today and I'm like, holy shit! All these boxes are going for like $120 more than what I bought for them. It's like sometimes you can stumble on the money.
PSA for Viggy Nation tonight. As you can find me at Viggy Bets 4-0. That's what happened tonight. So very celebratory on that. PSA for Viggy Nation. With the money that you've won tonight from tailing, give me 10% gratuity and then invest in the Discord.
It's a good idea.
And
I like
Ken's
that.
breaks because they're fire. Yeah,
Ken's got some good stuff coming, man.
Got
He's-
some good stuff, man.
He showed me what's
It's a
on the
lot of fun.
docket, and it's some heat, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I
yeah,
mean it's really good stuff. So definitely hit them up. But we'll be continuing with the NRFI and YRFIs throughout the week, and we'll have some college football, of course, coming
And
this
some
weekend.
Premier League on Saturday,
And
right?
some Premier League, man. It's going to be full fledged here, man. It's
got a busy
starting to go
weekend.
crazy. Yeah, and then of course the NFL. So it's going to be a lot
But,
of fun.
Ryan, again, like the boys said, don't ever apologize for commenting. We love when people are interactive with us. It gives us more to talk about. In fact, feel free, Ryan. I know we talk back and forth. Ryan's part of our Dynasty League that Andy and I are in. We talk a lot about Dynasty football. But if you ever have any questions you want on the show, please feel free to message them to me, to Andy. Ken also has Facebook if you want to find him. I don't think it's under Kenbo J Slice, though. Just let me know, and I'll send you his profile, and I'm sure he would add you back. If you ever want to talk cards with him, Ken is super knowledgeable. But you can find me at Ask Us Sports or at S_Miller_27 on Twitter. Sorry, that's my personal. Definitely come out and talk to me. Posted some fire to KJ Hamlers I picked up today. I've got a pretty good break that Ken just sent me that I'm going to display and do a nice post for.
Well, thank you.
But yeah, make sure you get in the Discord. And otherwise, I hope everyone has a great night. We look forward to seeing you next week. And go Pats. I make it